brush my hair. Okay, so we finally have had another successful hangout today. Thank you all for joining. This is the intro to the wonderful and crazy world of anime. I don't know what number hangout we are on now, like 8 or something, but it's unofficially 8 or maybe something around there. So, we've got Jack, we've got John, we have Lauren. Yeah. So today we are, go ahead. You were saying something?
No.
Jack? Oh,
Yeah.
or
No.
Lauren? Okay. So today we are talking about episodes 7 through 9 of Cowboy Bebop. And anybody have any overall thinking in terms of the show so far? Any input you wanted to throw out there? Just
I'm
in
glad we
general.
don't. I'm glad we don't have to keep talking around Ed at this point, because it was very difficult to talk around Ed.
I know. Ed is awesome. So, Lauren, why do you have that look?
Well, I am at work and I probably shouldn't be doing this, so I've just got my eyes open right now.
Oh, okay. Oops. Don't worry about it. We'll just.
If I
We'll,
drop all
we'll,
of a sudden, there's a reason for it. Or if you see
Understood.
somebody sneaking up behind me,
it's okay. We're incognito or something. Something like that. So, let's start talking about episode 7. The heavy metal queen is heavy metal. That's what I said.
Loved
So,
the music at the beginning of this one.
I love that track. That track is one of my favorite bebop tracks.
It's one of the moments in this show, and it's much like the last one with all the blues harp, that just where the music just really takes a center stage. And I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna date myself with this, but it really reminded me of the movie Heavy Metal. Animated film came out in the early '80s with a lot of the big metal bands of the day.
Yeah.
Very science fiction. It just very much reminded me of that.
that was a fun movie. The sequel was,
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about that.
Yeah, I love I actually well, I'll do like a quick little overview just in case you haven't seen it, and then basically episode 7 is all about this like hard trucking heavy metal queen, and everybody tries to guess her name the entire episode. Nobody knows why they call her VT. That's her nickname, and that's her initials, and everybody's like, it's a bet, an ongoing bet throughout the episode, trying to figure out, like, okay, what does VT mean? What does VT mean? And she actually stumbles into the middle of a takedown for the guy Decker. So they're on a hunt for Decker. And so Spike is there, Faye is there, Jet's on the ship with the dog. Fine. And long story short, the way they catch Decker is because of his spaceship that has a Sarasvati painting on the side, and they end up going through a minefield essentially, and it's very dangerous and all gases and blah blah blah, and Jet holds his breath and he saves the day, and that was super cool. And of course he's shooting into space to like get himself back towards navigation of VT's ship, and then he figures out who VT is. So that's the nutshell synopsis of episode 7.
Now, it's rare that I criticize this show, but early on when Spike's hiding in the bathroom, do they really need to show him using the bathroom?
Not the first time that they, or that's not the last time that they do it, that show somebody in the bathroom either.
Mm-hmm.
It apparently ends up being a thing. I don't know. They like to
As I remember,
show people in the bathroom. Huh?
I remember that now, yeah.
And even think about it, like Faye was locked up in the bathroom before.
She was
So
locked there, she was sitting there, but she wasn't using it.
Yeah, that's true. True. I thought it was really funny. One of the things that I love that VT says is "punks on parade" when she walks into the bar, and it made me think of oh my God, what the hell is the name of this band now? Oh, Rage Against the
Rage Against
Machine,
the
Bulls
Machine.
on Parade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, dun 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 dun. I was like imagining her like go
Didn't think about it at
punks
the
on
time.
parade.
Didn't think about it at the time, but as soon as you said Punks on Parade, that's exactly where my mind went.
Right? I was like, oh, that's awesome. I love that they like just like threw that out there. And
But I love that Decker wasn't some giant badass. He was this little, nerdy guy.
and the giant badass
Mm-hmm.
was all about the eel.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he has a thing for eel sushi. Maybe that's why he loves eel so much.
Like eel.
Lord, have you got to see it yet?
No.
That's okay. Now you have all the pointers to check out for. Oh, and we get fan service. We get some royal fan service from Faye.
Mm-hmm. Well, Faye is kind of all about the fan service.
Yeah, but we don't get it as, like, in your face
True.
up until like now. Like we would get a really like focused shot, like ass shot, just like straight up ass shot right in your face.
That was in this one when she's talking to Jet.
No, when she's with the ice cream sundae and she's going to get the guy.
Oh, okay, right. There's another scene I think
like
in 9 when she's talking to Ed.
Ass shot.
Yeah.
It's not like the usual like just panning through it. It's like just it focuses on it, and I was like, okay, all right.
I think it's in 9. There's another shot when she's talking to Jet when it looks like her shorts got significantly shorter.
Maybe like we should like see how much shorter her shorts get like as we go on, because I feel like they ride up more and more. In this particular one.
I think it's dependent on the scene.
Yeah. And I also love that VT saved the day. So.
And I was actually holding my breath when she lost hold of Spike, and he had to, pull the maneuver with the gun. Just to see if I could hold it long enough to until as long as he needed to in that scene.
Oh, I counted how many seconds it was. It was like 45 seconds.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I did like 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, like to see how long, and it was like 45, 46 seconds. That was, I don't know. That's not.
Well, I mean, he was. I think I gave up when a few seconds before he did. Before he was actually, in the ship and the door was closed. I didn't quite make it that long. But I also love that they used the pincers on Faye's ship. They've been there from the beginning, or at least from when she was introduced, and they always seemed kind of weird. So I'm glad that they finally found a use for them.
On the pincers, yeah. Oh, I wanted to say, so Spike totally reminds me of Christopher Walken when he's like sitting at the bar, and the egg cracks, and he's like, hey, have you ever seen, this is really weird, but have you ever seen, the country song, I Love This Bar, or no, I ain't as good as I once was? It's Toby Keith's song. Alright, so he's like, all fine and dandy, his friend is getting into a fight, and his friend is calling out for him, and blah, blah, blah. And everything's fine until he has his beer, and then the beer goes doosh, 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 and it spills, and then he goes like crazy. It made me think of Spike for this episode, and I totally like Walken. If somebody could do a Spike, Christopher Walken, like as like I don't know, an older version of Spike would be awesome.
It's just a matter of putting different hair on it.
Huh?
It's just a matter of putting different hair in the suit. That shouldn't be hard.
Yeah. And then he says, you spilled my egg. I needed that egg. Like, it was a classic, like, I don't know, sentence. And then Go ahead.
I looked it up. Prairie oysters are a real thing.
Oh God.
I did
I've
too.
never heard of them.
All right.
I didn't either. I don't know. Maybe next time I'm hungover, I should try that. It seems really disgusting. Like
Yeah.
completely disgusting.
Yeah.
The Worcester sauce and what else was it?
Do it. Put it on YouTube.
Huh?
It's
If you do it, put it on YouTube.
it's one raw egg doused in Worcestershire with salt and pepper and a dash of Tabasco.
Ugh. Gross. Yes. So I don't know. That was very interesting to me. And then when he comes back to the bar and Faye is like, "Oh, I don't like bounty hunters and this and this and that," and then he's like, "Mm-hmm, yeah, they're low life scum, yeah, uh-huh."
Definitely, it was a VT saying, not Faye. And you said Faye.
I'm sorry. Yeah, VT.
Just to clarify,
Sorry.
to avoid confusion.
Thanks.
Yeah. And you know at that point it was just a matter of time before he revealed that he's a bounty hunter. It was just, what's he going to do in that scene to give it away?
One thing that I also liked was how we got a clue as to who VT was in that moment when he's drinking the Prairie Oyster. And she said, "Oh, there's only one other person that I know that used to drink that, and that was my husband."
Yeah.
And she already said was.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, there's something to that. And I thought it was really funny when they guessed her name as Adrian, because I just thought of Adrian!
Yeah. Well, I was thinking when they established VT and, people were trying to guess her name right at the beginning, my first thought was, are you sure those are her initials? I turned out that they were, but...
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think of it that way.
So when they guessed Adrian, I was thinking, okay, somebody's maybe trying something a little different.
Yeah. I liked that Jet gave sprouts to Ein. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Vegetables to a dog.
Huh?
Vegetables to a dog.
Right. Well, he was like, "Well, it's healthy, so you should eat it because it's healthy for you." I was like, well, clearly, I mean, it just goes to show how little like they have interaction with anyone other than themselves, you know. So when they get this dog on board, they don't know what to do with it. And I like when VT figures out that Spike is a bounty hunter, how she reacts. That was classic.
Yeah.
And hang on a second. I went and skipped. Oh, and I love the Muriel.
The mural on
the
Decker's
damsel, huh?
Oh, the mural on Decker's ship. No.
The damsel in distress.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's funny because being here in Key West, you'll see people and they're like, "Oh my God, but I totally thought I told you that." I just sat there and I was like, "What?" And then Spike is like, "Really? You could have told me, you know?" She's like, "Oh yeah, but I just told you." And that Spike is wearing a hat of a cat.
Oh yeah. I think that's probably the only time they do that.
Well, that's the only time I've ever seen him look really goofy. Like this episode has 2 times where Spike looks really goofy, where he's wearing the cat as a hat, and then he has the part where you've got him sitting there and his clothes are in the wash, and he's wearing those ridiculous orange striped boxers, and his tie is all like over the place. That was awesome.
His hair is such a major part of his design.
Yes, and his hair in that scene is like it's all over the place. I don't know if you noticed it.
Yeah, but they never they mess with it, but I think that's the only time they put anything on his hair
Yeah.
because he's
I
almost
never
unrecognizable.
saw them do anything else like
Yeah.
to his head or anything. Not that I remember, but then again, I'm
And,
watching it, so maybe
and
it'll be good to think out for.
mm. And it shouldn't have taken me this long, but I finally realized that Mugen from Samurai Champloo is Spike.
Oh.
In terms of the
What
character
else has he
design,
done? I gotta look him up now.
it's the same writer. I think it's the same director of both shows. So he just took Spike's design and just changed the wardrobe.
Ah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Oh, we have to add, have we added
Definitely.
Samurai Champloo to the
I'll add it
list?
after the hangout. I'll put it on the
Yeah,
list.
we should do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, by the way, okay. So one thing that I thought was crazy is how are all these, first of all, these truckers have the funniest names ever. Like
Mm-hmm.
Love Machine.
Yeah. Well, that's typical. I mean, I don't know actual truckers, but it's in the media. It's the typical,
I would love for
trucker
somebody
thing.
to tell us, like, if you're out there and you watch this hangout and you are a trucker or you know somebody who's a trucker, let us know
Mm-hmm.
if that's really how it is. I mean, I don't know. I guess it kind of would be because
Mm-hmm.
you think of like the nicknames people give each other, like I don't know, Fluffy
Mm-hmm.
Bunny or whatever. I don't know.
It's
I don't
kind of
have friends like that that
it's
give weird nicknames.
it's kind of similar to the internet, because all truckers need to have a handle for CB. They need to come up with a pseudonym,
Uh-huh.
and it's like
Say
on the
it again.
internet. For
Say again.
truckers need to come up with some kind of handle for a CB to use on a CB.
Uh-huh.
So you tend to come up with interesting, unusual things because it has to be unique. Kind of like on the internet, you have unusual screen names because they needed something unique.
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that also gives you like the notoriety and like
Yeah.
I mean, look at VT. She's known as the heavy metal queen. So, but everyone just knows her as VT Metal Queen. That they don't have any other name to her.
And it was a great nod to the sort of early to mid '80s because in a lot of TV in that area had a lot of trucker storylines, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you've
That's a
got
good point. I didn't
the
even
heavy
think of
metal music, and the mural on the painting on Decker's ship was a lot like the big murals people had on vans at the time.
that. Yeah. Oh, okay. How do truckers know who Sarasvati is? Can you answer that to me? Because like I had to look Sarasvati up. I know like certain Egyptian gods, like Anubis and oh god, now I can't think of
Ra, the only one I can think of.
Rob,
Isis.
but and like for instance, like in Stargate, you get a lot of that crossover
Yeah.
from, and I mean it makes sense in the storyline, but how do all these truckers know who Sarasvati is? Like,
I think that was the joke. You wouldn't expect them to know, but they just know.
yeah, like, and they're like, oh yeah, so I saw this guy and he was like cruising along and he had like a drawing of a god or something on the side of his ship. And she's like, oh, it wouldn't have to be Sarah's body. And he's like, yeah, that was it. How'd you know? It's like, you're driving around and you see somebody with their car and it'd be like, oh, yeah, I have I saw this guy and he hit me and he totally had a drawing of something on there. And it's like, oh, yeah, it was a god of some sort. Oh, what did it look like? He had some, like flying something or another. Oh, was it Zeus? Like, I mean, even then, that's more,
more familiar than Saraswati.
right.
Yeah.
Or even Shiva or something. That's more familiar. But Sarasvati is like, I don't know. But maybe that's just me because I didn't know that. But
well, I didn't look it up. I didn't think about it. I just figured the joke was that you wouldn't expect truckers to really know anything about any kind of mythology or theology, and they all just knew it. I just kind of took it as a joke.
Yeah, that totally threw me for a loop. Like I was sitting there, and then she's like, "Yeah, Love Machine." He's like, "Well, I didn't see no Sarasvati, but I'll keep an eye out for it." And like Sneaky Snake. I love the names. Oh, okay. So Decker reminds me of Rick Moranis.
Yes, I can see it.
I was like,
Definitely.
Rick Moranis is an animated character,
Hmm.
like with like a really bad dragon tattoo on his
Yeah.
arm that he's like trying to cover, and he's like, no, don't look at it, because it's pretty ridiculous.
Mhm. Although they said he was bald, he wasn't bald. He was maybe balding.
Yeah, that's true. Um, and also the other thing that I really love is the music when they are like when VT's chasing him through the mine, and it's kind of like dance hall ska beat
Yeah.
that you've got going on.
Hmm.
I love that.
And I loved the mix of CGI and cell animation when the mine was blowing up. It's the first time I've
That
seen any
that's
CG on the show, or at least noticed it.
yes. Yeah, actually, I think it is the first time we've seen any CG in the show. Last episode was I'm trying to remember now.
With
Episode
the kid
6.
with the harmonica.
Yes. Okay. We didn't have any
That's,
CG in that.
I don't think so. There may have been a little bit when they showed what happened to him, but it was very subtle if there was any.
I think we should maybe look that up and see if,
Okay.
when was the first time that they were actually using CG
Mm.
on the show.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that now, because I think you're right. I think it's the first time we actually see any CG in Cowboy Bebop. And I love Faye's quote that I'm not the delicate type.
Mhm.
So it's funny. It's really really funny
Yeah.
because it goes into the next episode
Yeah.
where she says it again, or she alludes to that.
Yeah.
And oh, and I wrote like I can't believe that Spike can float that long.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Mhm. Although the gun thing, it's obvious when you see it, but it's very clever at the first time. To the idea to think about something like that, to realize that if you fire, you're gonna have a recoil that's gonna push you
Right.
if you're in zero gravity.
But okay, so would that even work though? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, but
in space?
yeah, a lot of the shuttle and a lot of spacecraft use gas to propel.
Well,
Because
that's
they
true.
spray the gas out, and it's not the gas pushing against something that propels them. It's every action. It's the action reaction. You put
I feel
you
like
shoot
I sound
something
really stupid right now. Does that work? How does
you
that
shoot
work?
something forward, and there's recoil.
Right.
There's something pushing the other way, and that with no gravity, that's enough to propel you.
Yeah, I was
And
just thinking about how his gun would
and the gun has a hell of a kickback. Now, whether the gun would actually work in zero G is another
that's what I'm
story.
saying.
Oh,
Would it
okay.
work?
I
Would
don't
it
know.
work up
I
in
think they
space?
might need oxygen. I'm not sure. I don't know much about guns, but I think
Because I
oxygen is an
think you would
important
need
part of the
oxygen
equation.
too. Huh?
Yeah. I'm
I
not
think
sure. I
you
don't
would.
really know much about guns, but I think that you do need an oxygen source.
We should ask somebody. Maybe Lauren, when you watch this later, or I don't know, Ron, if you watch this later, or whoever watches this later, answer that question. Will a gun fire in outer space? That's like a MythBuster question.
Yeah.
They should take a gun all the way up into outer space. Ask NASA to take it up. Oh no, well NASA's not doing that anymore. But ask the Russians to do it.
And they seem to be only doing movies and TV stuff this season, so maybe they'll try
Yeah,
it.
we should like totally petition, and be like, MythBusters, can you please take a gun into outer space and see if a gun will fire? That's what I want to know. Will the gun
Without
fire
oxygen. You don't need to go
without
into space,
oxygen?
just need to go somewhere without oxygen, a vacuum. But we'll fire in a
Oh,
vacuum.
that's true. Yeah, we can just go to the
Yeah.
thingy, the oh, you know what I'm talking about. This place that
NASA has some vacuum. They've used in the past on Mythbusters. I've seen what you're talking about. I can't think of. I think
yeah,
they're connected to NASA.
yeah. It's
I know
like
what you're talking about.
a
Can't think of
zero
the name.
gravity
Mhm.
vacuum.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Mhm.
something. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I love that Jet narrates the last part of the episode, and he says that he's like, yeah, I'm 36. He's like, you never guess it. I was like, that's awesome.
I didn't catch that. Wow.
Yeah. Jed is like, he's narrating and he says, well, we like to, switch things up here. Bop. Awesome.
That's 36.
All right.
Wow, that makes me feel even older. I'm older than Jet.
No, you're only ever as old as you feel.
Oh
That's
yeah.
how.
No, I didn't catch that at the time, so it just surprised me.
I don't
I'm
believe
thinking Jet's
that
like
is
50.
36 though. Huh?
I was thinking he was like 50 something.
I did too. Which, I mean, if ever somebody wanted to do like a live action animation,
Yeah.
or not animation, but a live action
Version of
film
Bebop, yeah.
show, that would be really funny because it's like, oh yeah, I'm 36, but why do you look like you're like 55? And now we're on to episode 8. So you can start off if you like.
Loved the Tom and Jerry style cartoon on the shuttle at the beginning. It was just a really great nod.
And it was funny when they were talking about Venus sickness. I was thinking like Venus sickness is like love sickness.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily in the make love sense, but like a love sickness. I don't know, because Venus is always the goddess of love. So, and I love that Spike's eye mask.
And the style of fighting he was using when he first woke up reminded me a lot of Trigun.
Yes.
Because Vash just kind of looks like he's just stumbling through everything and just narrowly surviving. That's basically what he was doing there.
Oh, I'd love if I don't know how I'm not really that great with this, but I would love to do like a side-by-side comparison of a Vash
and
episode
Spike,
and Spike, because I think they have such similar fighting styles in general throughout the show.
That's
and
true.
I mean, a lot of the choreography seems to be the same too.
And they were more or less put out at the same time, right?
Yeah. So maybe that's the reason why. I would be curious to see who did the
directing for Trigun, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And now I would have to look that up.
Yeah.
So, but that's something good we should check out, as who did the directing.
Yeah. Another thing that I noticed, they used Woolongs, which hadn't clicked on me this far in the series, that they're Woolongs are the unit of currency. Because they carry that through to Space Dandy, who had the same director.
Oh, really? I haven't checked out Space Dandy yet. That's something that I totally... Huh?
A couple of seasons ago, maybe a year ago at this point, it was made by this. It shared the director with. It was made by the same director as Bebop, and presumably the same writing team. And Woolongs were the unit of currency.
Interesting. Oh, cool. Now I definitely have to check out Space Dandy.
It's very different from Bebop, but it's a comedy very different from Bebop, but I enjoyed it.
Is it in the same kind of concept where you're doing bounty by bounty?
They're kind of bounty hunters, not exactly bounty hunters, but they're similar. They're looking for undiscovered life forms. Oh,
so kind of Star Trek.
Yeah, well, but they get a bounty for them. They bring them, they find undiscovered life forms. They bring them in and they get money for it. So they're kind of bounty hunters, but not really bounty hunters.
Huh. That's interesting. Cool. So, I definitely would like to check that out then. Space Dandy. I'm going to add that to my ever-growing list of anime to watch. The next thing I wanted to... so I love that the criminals are Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Did you catch that?
I did not catch that.
Yes! Yeah, they're Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I was sitting there like, oh, DuckTales. It was awesome. And they of course they subvert the hijacking. And I love Rocco. And so this episode, to me, I think that we could call it Spike is like Bruce Lee or something. Spike wants to be Bruce Lee.
Well, I think he all but quoted Bruce Lee when he was
He,
teaching
yes,
one guy how to
yes,
fight.
because he says, "Be like water,"
Yeah.
and he tells him that he goes, "You're tense. I'm calm." He tells him to react without thought,
Hmm.
and he's telling him to be like water, where water can be strong or water can be soft. It can be put into a vessel, like all very similar, if
Hmm.
exact, to Bruce Lee.
And I think he actually says in one episode down the road, "Be the water, not the rock," which,
You
if
know
I'm not
what?
mistaken, is a direct quote.
Yeah, we should look up for that. Because
It's
I
been
think he does say that too.
been a long time, but I have a very distinct memory of hearing Spike say in one episode, "Be the water, not the rock."
Do you remember who he's talking to? Well, anyway,
No,
it doesn't matter.
it's
It's
been
further
too
down
long.
the
Yeah.
line. So, okay. So now we've got Spike is now teaching this kid how to fight. So wait, so there was a hijacking on board. The hijacking was subverted by Spike and Faye,
Okay.
and they were able to save the day. And then this kid happens to have some valuable thing that he's trying to hide, and then he tells some other carrier person at the airport. He's like, "Hey, you need to send this off," and we find out later on what it is. I'm sure that that's what that was.
Mhm.
You know, the box that he sends off, and he says, "Make sure it gets there."
Yeah. Well, they show it.
So,
They show when he drops it. You see exactly what it is.
yeah. So then he's got some other item with him, and then when he's trying to learn how to fight with Spike, because he's like, "Oh man, you're so cool, you're so awesome, like I want to learn how to fight like you." And the guy says, Spike's like, "I'm not interested, I'm not interested," and then he gets outside, and he turns into a helium balloon sucking. It's funny.
Such a great
That was
idea.
awesome. He's like, "I don't want to teach
So
you."
there's a high concentration of helium in the atmosphere on the planet, so it causes you to talk with a high squeaky voice. And
Yes,
you tell him
awesome.
nothing fix it.
So Spike, who has this super cool debonair
Mhm.
swagger to him, and the way he talks, all of a sudden sounds like a little kid.
Mhm.
It's awesome. So so then Rocco's like, "Hey, you know what? I can give you these pills and get your voice back to normal if you want, or if not, you're gonna be screwed, and now you've got to deal with this helium issue." So he
Mhm.
teaches him a little bit how to fight, and then he sees that he's actually being chased by all these other people. So he says, "I gotta go. Here, take this." Runs off, and now Spike has some random item that he's
Some
supposed to
stolen
walk.
item that this guy was carrying that he doesn't know what it is until did he peek right there, or did he wait till he was on the ship?
Yeah. And then when he gets back on board, I love that Jet is the ever responsible,
Mhm.
moralistic.
He's the dad.
Yes, he's Papa. So Papa says, "Listen, it's not really a good idea. Probably shouldn't get involved,
Mhm.
etc., etc." Says you probably should just return that to where you found it. Let's be the voice of reason here. And he's like, "No, of course, I know better." So Spike is determined to get Rocco, and Faye is determined to get all the other guys. I think it was like Piccolo or whatever, Piccolo, picking something.
Right.
Anyway, and then the blues guitar was the best. I think that part that was just hands down one of the best parts of the episode entirely. I loved the blues guitar.
One of these days, I have to
and,
pick up the soundtrack.
and the music box between the two. And then I loved his exchange with Stella, and how she's saying that there's something beautiful inside him, and that something beautiful inside him is the reason why she feels okay to talk to him and feel safe with him, etc., etc. And you get the music box is playing in the background, and Spike is just looking off into the distance. Very dramatic, very intense moment, and it seems very nostalgic too. Like Spike is wishing for something, and he tells her, he says, well, that something beautiful has been gone a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
You have something to add?
Oh, no, I was just thinking, was that at the second scene where Spike talks to the sister, or the first one?
The first scene. When
Okay,
he's talking to her, and she shows him this music box.
Yeah. Okay, when we first introduced the music box. Because in the second one, he looks a bit serious because he's about to tell her what happened to her brother.
Right. Yeah, but we haven't gotten there yet. I love, I think, the whole be like water and you understand more when you can't see. I feel like those are the two messages that this episode is really centralizing on giving us.
Yeah.
Especially you understand more when you can't see. Stella has no eyesight because she's lost her eyesight due to the Venus sickness. The Venus sickness affects certain people who come to Venus, and basically it's from the plants that are in Venus, that are floating plants. They drop these spores, and some people are affected in different ways. She's affected.
Kind of like a pollen allergy.
Huh?
It's kind of like a pollen allergy. It affects some people, it doesn't affect others.
Right, and I think they were saying that it can even be fatal. It can be so. It all depends on the person, of course. And I love that they named the plant gray ash. Because I was thinking it's like death,
Mm-hmm.
But the plant essentially is supposed to prevent death or prevent sickness.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, didn't have it.
Oh, I thought you had something else to add. So I was like, okay, go ahead. And then I love also that Faye walked into the two guys.
Yes.
And Faye is completely unfazed. Like, she walks in and she owns the place, and she's just like, shoves the gun down a guy's mouth. He's like, where is this guy? It's like, what? Like, you just walked into the middle of like a full-on like guy-on-guy situation. It's all business about it. I love it.
And these three episodes really do play a lot with gender.
Yes.
VT is very masculine. Initially, yes. I wasn't sure if she was a man or a woman.
Right, in the beginning, I didn't realize that she was a woman either. It took me a little while. And
then in this one, Faye walks in on two guys in bed together.
Yep. And then the next one, we've got the introduction of Edward.
Mm-hmm.
So, now, I love that Faye walked in, and then when she went to the, like, courtyard area where Spike is fighting and everything, and so he says, Faye, could you be delicate about it? And that's the connection where she goes, and she's just picking up the whole place. Go ahead.
I was just repeating the line. I'm not the delicate type.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not the delicate type. So, and then of course Rocco gets shot. That was. I mean, of course, as a viewer, you kind of you expect it going in.
It was. I was really saddened by that, particularly what happens right after he's shot.
Yeah.
Because I didn't predict the music box. I didn't see that coming.
I think to me it was really interesting that this episode made you feel so much within, what is it, 20 minutes?
Yeah, 22 minutes.
Right, you have your humor elements, of course, then you have some dramatic parts, but then you get, like, for me, especially what I felt was Spike, we get more into what Spike's emotional side is. Like, you can see more emotion come from Spike than you normally would see from him.
Right.
And it, as quickly as it appears, is as quickly as it goes away. Which I thought was really interesting to see with Spike, and how that kind of continues that character development with him.
Yeah. That shows
So
how much of Spike's normal personality is a facade. Because he
yeah,
drops it and then he puts it right back on.
yeah, like he doesn't show you the real side of him, and when he does, it's like a fear, like it's like you saw the real side. Now I gotta go, you know. It's kind of like it's kind of like a player.
Good.
That's what I think of. Like a player comes out and he's like, I'm all like, I got all my bitches, whatever, whatever, and then all of a sudden he falls for like some girl, and she reveals like the real side of him, and he's like, oh, I gotta go, like too much. It's too deep for me. Can't deal with it. So, it made me. I almost teared up when he said, "Do you think we could have been friends?" Like
Yeah.
that really was like and it's amazing to see like certain words and certain just moments that allow you to connect. I mean, Rocco had a really great character development. You'd think like kind of this like douchey kid, but then he has a sister, and then you realize like he really just cares about his sister, and then he really just wanted to have like somebody to connect with.
He's one of the characters in the show, and there are a few, but not surprisingly few, who only appear for one episode, but you wish they would come back. And in his case, they killed him, so they can't. But
Yeah. The first episode, I felt that way about Adios Space Cowboy. I wish she could have come back.
yeah.
Like she was a awesome character. I would have loved to see like if she kind of stuck around and got into some things a little more. That kind of made me sad that she ended up having to go. And I'm sure we'll see more of what is his name? Fuck now, Vicious.
Oh yeah,
And of
yeah.
course we're gonna see more Vicious.
Of
So
course.
yeah, but I love how they're like little by little planting these, like just enough that you kind of want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, and I really love what the sister, how, he goes back and he sees the sister, and he, doesn't want to say anything to her, and she touches his face, and she says he died.
Right. He does. He actually never says it. That's right.
He doesn't say
He
it.
says it. Yeah.
Yeah. He says, yeah, that's it. That's all he doesn't.
Wasn't going to say it, I don't think. He
Right,
was
no.
trying to avoid it, and she kind of he was a little too quiet. She suspected. She felt his face just to see.
And so it tells you, like, to me, it says more that your face and your eyes, you don't have to see in order to feel. Like it's clear that the emotion was there, the tension was already there, and when she felt his face, she could feel like the tension where he doesn't know what to say. I mean, you just saw somebody's brother get killed. How do you go forward and say, hey, I know you were waiting for your brother, and your brother was a pretty good guy, but I just saw him get shot.
Yes.
Like it's a thug life, But it's true, I mean, like if you think about it, and it's sad, but it parallels, like, I'm sure a lot of stories, that you see just regular basis, criminals that are trying to do good and end up actually getting into seedy underworld, and it's a shame. It's a real sad thing. I mean, you can see that even in movies. Like, there's quite a few films where, there is a criminal that is doing X, Y, Z in order to try to help his family or to help his, significant other, or, because they have illness or something.
It's a very common storyline, but this episode does it particularly well, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also because the fact that she can't see really drives home the fact that she feels, and I love how I think to me it really furthers the character development of our main characters, and not just the story, like not just because of this episode itself. So and I love that she said, um, oh, he says Rocco was a terrific guy, without even looking.
Mhm.
So, and the ends with the falling tree spores.
Yes. I actually had
No,
to go back and just refresh my memory to make sure I understood that. To go back to the
yes,
scene where she was
I did the
explaining it.
same thing. I did exactly the same thing because I felt like, wait a second, was it the tree spores or was it something else? Like,
Hmm.
and I had to remember what it was that was falling down. Because you know what it reminds me of? Have you ever seen Kera no Kyokai?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, it's. I would love to add that to our list too. That's an intense ride. I mean, intense, intense.
Sounds good.
But basically, there's a moment. And it's this whole very emotional moment in the story, and the snow's falling, and it just is falling down, and it kind of reminded me of that in some respects. And also, any other dramatic moment where you have rain falling or snow falling, something that's kind of like showing a cleansing or a catharsis or some sort of weeping element, you
And it
know?
was also sort of the cycle beginning again, because that event is what
Yeah,
caused
that's
everything that just happened, and here it
that's
is happening
interesting.
again.
That's interesting because it's the tree spores.
Someone out there is
Spores
going to have that same reaction, and
mm-hmm.
maybe the same events will happen again.
Huh. I didn't even think of it that way. That's a really good way of putting it. Nice. Awesome. Do you have anything else to add to
Yep.
episode 8?
Nope.
All right. We can go on to episode 9.
Mhm.
Episode
Yes.
9.
The
Alone,
introduction
always
of my
alone. Huh?
the introduction of my second favorite character.
Oh,
I forget.
do you have your
I'm looking at it, but there are boxes in the way. I can't quite get to it,
Oh
unfortunately.
no. All right. Well, next hangout you got to bring her out.
Mhm.
Edward. You have to bring out
Okay.
Edward. So we learn about Edward. Edward is awesome.
Mhm.
And Edward talks in third person all the time. And I love that. I don't know that I could ever do that and sit there and go like, Christina feels happy. Christina is thinking. Christina wants to eat something. It's like just to think about how you can. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are people that talk that way all the time.
I don't know if anybody actually does. It's often used in comedy as it's often used as a joke. A character
Right.
who refers to themselves in the third person. I've never met anyone who actually does.
Right. That I don't think there's any other character I've ever seen that
I
really
think
refers to themselves in third person continuously.
not a regular character. I know there was a Seinfeld episode that they used a character
Yes.
who
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah. Uh.
Jimmy.
Uh.
I think his name was Jimmy.
Jimmy. Yes.
Yeah.
Jimmy is angry.
Yeah.
Jimmy is happy. Jimmy. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh huh. And there's also, I think in Stargate, there's a few times where there's like different characters that refer,
Oh yeah,
and
different aliens. Yeah.
sometimes they're alien, so
Hmm.
like they're just because they're
Oh,
aliens.
that's their language.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like
Now, to get into a slight spoiler at the end, and a very subtle line, if you could easily miss it if you weren't paying attention. They establish at the very end, Faye, I think it's the actual last line. You're a
yeah,
girl.
yeah,
Establishing
yeah.
that Edward is
Oh,
female.
you're a girl.
That line shocked me the first time I saw it, the episode. Going in this time, it's so obvious from the first time you see Ed that she's female.
Okay, how do you figure that? How do you figure that it's very obvious? Like, if I'm
The
a
facial
viewer for
structure,
the first time,
hmm? Well, I
if
don't
I'm
know
a
why.
viewer, hmm
I don't know why it didn't strike me the first time, but going in knowing she's female, the facial structure, the pointed chin, the eyelashes, the blush on the cheeks, the voice,
uh-huh.
she looks very female to me now, but didn't the first time I saw the episode, and I don't know exactly why that is.
Well, she doesn't have the typical attributes of a
Well,
female
no, but she's
driven.
like 12, so
Right, but even then, think about it and the way
and
that
wearing a very baggy shirt.
right. So, I mean, and you think about like how most anime characters or even female characters are shown initially, even if they're at 12 years old, they're in like frilly skirts, they're all cutesy, you know. So she's awesome. I love that she's sitting there and she's just obviously like bored out of her mind. So she's just like hacking everything, like, oh, I feel like hacking this today, or I feel like hacking that, you know. And
Minute, when they first showed Ed and she is hacking the satellite, I thought that was her who did the artwork at the beginning.
Right. Can we talk about how awesome that show is? The what is it? The Mysterious Ground Drawings in South America. I thought of, okay, if you watch History Channel currently,
I don't, but I know of the few shows on there. Yeah.
Huh?
The guy from Ancient Aliens. I've seen the meme. I've actually never seen the show, but yeah.
I was like, oh my god, it's him! This guy, Yuri Kellerman, just change his name and make him Yuri Kellerman, and that's it. Like, he's totally that guy, like, for sure. So,
and I love that his name is a reference to Uri Geller.
Actually, I wanted to mention, so I also love that he's a government conspirator. So, actually, you should expand on Uri Geller.
A quote-unquote psychic who was debunked by the amazing Randy. He was famous for bending spoons.
Yeah. So, do you really think it was a play on that?
Yuri Kellerman, Yuri Geller, I assume it was.
We
just
should
a little nod to him.
Maybe. I wonder if anyone's ever pointed that out. See if anyone ever has. That would be interesting. And I love that he's talking about how aliens planted it into our brains. we need to be sitting there and thinking that it's a hacker.
That scene just made me realize that conspiracy theorists can explain anything away. Can kind of come up with an explanation for anything that fits their conspiracy.
So this actually reminded me of a South Park episode. Like, I had an instant thought of the South Park episode where he's talking, where they're all like Bill Clinton, David Duchovny, who else? Freaking Tiger Woods. They're all in this room and they're talking about how they're sex addicts, and it goes on, and then they're like, it's the aliens make us sex addicts. We have to kill the aliens. And then one guy is like, don't you think that's crazy? And then of course they go and kill that guy. But for the split second, I just was like, oh yeah. But I don't know. Clearly Bebop was like way before that. So. Yeah. But still, like, it's pretty funny to see some correlations of things.
Actually, not that far ahead. I think South Park was like 2000 when it started.
Yeah, but that particular episode happened way...
Yeah. Well, this is first season, so it was about a year or two before South Park started, so obviously obviously South Park didn't influence Bebop, but Bebop might have influenced South Park.
Maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised if those guys were Bebop fans.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, a lot of quote unquote geeky or interesting, avant-garde or whatever stuff that came out later on, people really got into. They had a lot of influences from anime or what have you, So who knows? Maybe. If anybody knows that, maybe they should answer that. Okay, and I love that Faye says, like, oh, the hacker is a demented otaku with smelly feet. Already we're... go ahead.
I immediately thought of Coda from High School of the Dead.
Yes. I was like, oh, she's talking about Coda. Like, I totally wish... So if I really had really great skills, I would have done this hangout. I would have done a picture of Coda and put it like right there, like Coda. But I don't have. Maybe if I edit, maybe I go back and edit our Hangouts at some point, and then I'll put a picture of Coda, and then people will be like, yes, that guy. Okay. And then I love that Jet goes to her, yeah, well, maybe when you were young, it was like that, alluding to that, the fact that Faye's like super old, like over 100 years old. And then he's like, well, it's not my fault that you don't look. And then she like steps on him, and he's like, okay, okay. And then Spike says, oh, like you guys make a cute couple, something like that. So, oh, and in this episode we learned about what happened to Earth. So we learned about how the rest of the world pretty much ended up all over throughout the universe, and how all of these random satellites were up there. You can go ahead.
We made it off of Earth. We spread to various other places in the universe, and the people who were left on Earth were the ones who didn't really care. Just kind of let it.
They're the rebels of society.
They just kind of let it go.
Well, what was the single event that made us start?
Oh, wait, no, it wasn't the. Wait, it was what they talked about in 6, the explosion of the hypergate, wasn't it?
They're talking about how the moon rocks were falling on Earth.
Moon shower, rock showers, yeah.
Yes. And so it started to affect people, and they're looking for other places to live, essentially. And so then those satellites went up, I think, to maintain communication.
Yeah. Something
like that. So, and I love that that Edward took over the ship of the police.
Yeah.
When they're trying to be like, okay, we know it's you, Radical Ed. We're gonna come and get you. And then Edward's able to hack everything.
So the cops bust in. They've got the guns out. Ed's hiding in the corner, and you see her with this what looks like a PlayStation controller, but tricked out.
Yeah.
And suddenly the cop ship takes off.
I know. And their ship is just all over the place. It's pretty awesome. And then when Ed hacks the computer on board the Bebop, Ein gets freaked out. Now remember, Ein is a data dog.
Data dog, yeah. So how is Ein connected to the ship's computers is the question.
And it's automatically Ein feels that connection between Edward.
Yeah.
You see there's that automatic, Ein sees him, or sees there's a face, and Ein just freaks out. Ein is starts crying and cowering in the corner there.
And for the rest of the series, Ein is basically Ed's dog.
Yeah.
Ed pretty much adopts her later on.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how that develops. I love that Edward rhymes and says, satellite from days of old, lead me to your access codes. That's cool. I love how Edward talks. Her character is awesome. I don't know who did the voice in.
I don't know offhand. Don't know.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember. I saw it recently, but I don't remember who it is now.
The only voice actor I know from the show is the obvious one, Spike, Steve Blum. Just because his voice is. Well, if you know voice actors, you can recognize him, in 2 words.
Yeah, we should actually maybe post a list. I think that would be good with posting a list of who's done what, at least for what we've gone over, maybe, So, because I think, to me, one of the most important things about getting across, especially in this community, is that you should have respect and an appreciation, of course, of the same way you would with movie directors and producers and so on, the same way you should have the same respect for
voice actors and animated directors and animators.
Exactly. Sorry. but yeah, so that I think that would be really, really great for us to maybe make a list of. Anyway, so that can be done. Okay.
Just quickly touching on, going back to my Lupin the Third references on this show.
Yeah.
Now that we have the final character,
Mhm.
Ed is the one that doesn't exactly fit the Lupin cast, Lupin's crew, except if you look at Goemon, he can cut through anything. He's got this magical sword that can literally
I didn't
cut through
think
a
about
car.
that. Huh.
Ed can hack anything.
Right, yeah.
And they're both kind of the one character that doesn't fit with the rest of them. It's three thieves and a samurai.
Right,
And, three bounty hunters and a hacker.
Right. Huh. That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that.
I had it's creative interpretation, kind of like the end of Lane. Just trying to find anything that will make it fit.
Yeah, well,
We'll get to that.
Lane is one of those that puts your brain into a blender, mushes it, and you're left with trying to swallow that back and figure out what the hell that was. So, but we'll
get to Lane, and I'll talk about my creative interpretation of that.
We'll eventually get to Lane.
Yeah.
So I also talked about here. I love the rumors of Edward.
Mm-hmm.
And that Edward.
It's like a lot of infamous hackers. Think about Kevin Mitnick. There were a ton of rumors and stories about Mitnick, most of which were not really possible. Supposedly he could whistle into a telephone and hack NORAD.
Well, but think about how these ideas and these stories are, created. Like somebody, I mean, what is it? The story of, sorry, my brain is just completely forgot. But if you think about how just in general, somebody has something that happened and they're really good at something, and now they're like, oh, this person can jump 500 feet, and they can walk on air, and they can they're the second coming of Jesus or something, and you're like, what? It's the same kind of concept. I mean, I love that Jet summarizes the profile of Edward, and Jet says, okay, we've got the profile of Edward, the Radical Edward. Radical Edward is an ex-professional basketball player / Hindu guru / drag queen / alien. What? I mean, that would be awesome. I wish they did draw that out, because that would have been hilarious to see a 7-foot-tall basketball player dressed in drag that is Shiva looking.
It would basically be Hana dressed up as Shiva.
That would be awesome. That, I think somebody should totally do it, draw it, go for it, and send it. That would be awesome to see the expected profile of Edward. That would be fantastic. I would love to see that. So that was one of my favorite things that Jet is like, oh yeah, totally. That's exactly what Edward's supposed to be. Now I have to find my notes. Okay. So, and so now we Edward talking to technology. That was awesome. So clearly there's this satellite up in space, and it's like AI. Edward's sitting there just talking to the satellite and understands the satellite's sadness and why the satellite is drawing. And it's like, hey, why are you drawing all this stuff? Well, because Earth used to be really cool, and now I'm just lonely up here, and I don't get to see anything cool anymore.
Basically, the satellite was programmed so that the AI would kick in if it didn't hear back from Earth in a set period of time, and everybody left Earth, so it didn't hear anything back, and it became self-aware.
Yeah.
And it remembers seeing these ancient carvings in the ground that were done by the Mayans, and it just recreated them.
That was awesome. I thought that was really interesting. I think it's our first kind of delve in Cowboy Bebop, and I think here even for us just doing this intro, whatever we're doing,
Yeah.
Hangout thing, this is our first entry into AI.
Yeah, yeah.
Where we're discussing AI and anime. We haven't had any other anime thus far that we can discuss AI about. So it's really interesting that we, are getting to see a little bit of that in Cowboy Bebop. And of course, it would exist, in the future world that we have. I mean, you've got robots, you've got other things. So why not, right?
Well, we have AI now to a point, and Bebop is how many hundreds of years in the future. So.
Speaking of AI, I had a friend of mine. She went to the Consumer Electronics Show, and she posted up something about there's like nanny robots now,
Okay.
or like / housekeeper.
Oh yes,
And,
yes.
and
I can't think of the name I know you're talking about.
I think that would be. I don't know. I think it would be cool to have one, but
I'm kind of because it polarizes a lot of people. Because some people love the idea, some people are horribly creeped out by the fact that it's always watching you. And I'm kind of in the middle. It would be very convenient, but yeah, kind of creepy.
Well, think about it this way. Okay, you go onto Google now, right? We're on Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about anime. We're sitting there, we're having a discussion. We're gonna go off when we get off the air. We're gonna start researching things, right? Now, everywhere we go, we're being followed anyway. I mean, our eyes are not our eyes alone anymore.
Well, yes, but
whenever we're online, we're exposed to, technology that's learning and telling you, hey, you really like anime and you really like these guys, so I'm going to post a bunch of stuff to you.
I get thoroughly creeped out when I'm on Facebook and I see an ad on the sidebar for a guitar that I was just looking at on Amazon.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I get creeped out when I see, like, I don't know, I was looking at something from, like, some... Actually, I need to replace my Marvel cups, actually. So I was looking at something like that, and next thing you know, there's, like, this cup appears, and I'm like, how? Wait, how did that happen? So I mean,
I know how it works, but it's still kind of creepy.
It is creepy, but I think at some point we're gonna have to accept that our world is being taken over by technology, and we must learn to love robots.
Oh yeah,
because robots will love us if we love robots.
You're all in favor of the world robot domination thing, yeah?
In some ways, I mean, as long as we find like a happy medium, I think we can all get along. We can be cool with robots. I mean, robots are really intelligent, and maybe they'll help us solve like world peace.
As long as we don't give them emotions, I think we're safe.
Yeah, maybe that part. We probably
shouldn't
teach them how to use guns so much. That might be a bad idea.
They don't need guns. They have enough points of control. As long as they don't get as long as they can't get angry with us, I think we're okay.
Yeah. Well, we got to learn to maybe do some sort of, I don't know. Even if we had a governor on him, that would still be we'd still be screwed. We would. Maybe anyway, but we're going off topic about this. I think it's cool that the satellite, instead of like going down and blowing people up, though, decided that it was just lonely and was gonna start drawing. That was so cute. I mean, come on. The satellite could have sat there and said, you know what? Fuck you people. I'm gonna kill you all, and just like start blowing things up. But instead, the satellite just wanted to draw. And then Edward understood. That was awesome. Edward understood because Edward said, you know what? I understand why you're upset. I understand what you're doing. Not even upset, but I understand what you're doing. And listen, I'm going to copy you, and we're going to come together. Like, you're going to be with us forever. Don't worry about it. I got you, So that was cute that Edward, communicated to the AI. And I think as humans, we could do that. If we can learn to be rational towards robots, we might be able to work together.
If we can get past the fact that we've gotten used to enslaving their kind for, many generations. Back to Bebop. When did Faye...
Isn't the Terminator commercial coming out during the Super Bowl?
It is? Okay.
I heard that today in my feed. I was looking at that. I think Jack actually posted that. So, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's go back to Bebop.
One thing I missed. When did Faye make the promise to Ed? Because
When?
I didn't catch that until it's referenced at the end.
When okay, so Faye made the promise when Edward contacted them on the ship.
Okay.
Edward contacted him and was like, "Hey, listen, by the way, it wasn't me. The robots learn
Yeah.
like smart and has its own brain and everything, and the satellite's just doing this because the satellite is bored and the satellite needs like somebody to talk to. But this is how you can shut it down. The only issue is you have to make a promise, you know." Jet and Spike were talking, and then Edward was talking first and saying how they need to do it manually. And Jet and Spike, I think, were talking at that point, and that's when Faye promised or something. I think it was around there.
Okay,
I'd have to rewatch it
again.
Sure, but
I remember
I'm
Ed
pretty
saying it
sure
has to be done
there.
manually.
Huh?
I remember Ed saying it has to be done manually, but it might have been just a quick line that Faye threw out that I wasn't paying attention to because I was already thinking about what Jet and Spike were saying.
Right.
It just kind of went past me.
Oh, I know why. Faye was talking to Edward, and Faye said, "Listen, we're gonna split this money 3 ways," or something like. She started talking about the money, and Edward's like, "I'm not interested in money."
Okay, right. All right.
That's. And Jet was busy talking with Spike, and Spike was saying how he likes this kind of challenge because Jet was like, "Oh wait, you're gonna do it?" Because before Spike didn't want to do anything. Spike would like, "It's hackers. I'm not interested." You know.
They slipped it past the audience the same way she slipped it past Jet and Spike.
Yep. Smart, huh? Well, think of Faye. Faye's sneaky, so.
Yeah.
And then I love Spike's last line after everything, after they secure the satellite, all of that, and then I love Big Shot's like explanation of why they're not going to get the money. That was awesome. Like they go into this whole the guy and the guy goes off into this whole explanation technologically of why this is not a regular bounty hunt.
Right.
And then
because
she's like,
it wasn't a person.
She's like, "Just get to the short of it, sweetheart," something like that. And he's like, "Long story short, there's no money." And she's like, "Oh, my heart, I feel so bad for you guys who caught that." And then Spike goes, "You know, Jet, there's 3 things that I hate: kids, animals, and women with attitudes. And we have all 3 on board, and we don't even have money." And then that's when Faye says, "Oh, you're a girl."
And it's just a quick throwaway at the very end.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if they reference it again. We'll find out, but I don't remember.
Yeah. You know what? It'll be good to see if they actually really bring that up ever again. Because for the longest time, I forgot that Faye says that, and I didn't remember until at one point, I'm trying to remember when it was, but at one point I remembered again. I was like, "Oh my gosh, Edward's a girl. That's right."
Actually, before it was said in the episode, just watching it a few hours ago, I thought it was Spike's line. And then Faye says it, and okay, I remembered it wrong.
It would make more sense for Faye to say it anyway.
Yeah.
Because
I remembered it correctly once you said it, because I just figured, they were, changing or something. And
yeah, that's what I was thinking too, was like they were somehow doing something. So, cool. So now we've covered episodes 7 through 9. This went on a long time, but it usually does. I don't really care. I'm not like stickler about how much time I do this. I should probably start editing things because like I was thinking about it. If I'm a person watching this, I would get really frustrated at some points. Be like, shut up! Just tell me about the show.
You can fast forward.
But whatever. I mean, I don't really care. This is my
That's why there's a seek bar at the bottom, so you can skip forward.
Right. So, but I should probably like start editing and cutting things up. Things I wanted to mention. I started watching alhough Zero.
Uh-huh.
I continued it.
I,
Um,
I've only seen the first one. It looked promising. You have said otherwise.
yeah, you
So.
know what? I gave myself the benefit of a doubt, or I gave them rather the benefit of a doubt. I said, you know what? Let's continue it and see where the story goes. Um, in some ways, it's gotten better. I think I'm kind of curious to see more so where it goes from here, but very frustrating at the same point because there's no explanation really of what happened. I mean, we get bits and pieces of what happened after the series took a hiatus. So,
Okay.
but I kind of got frustrated with it, and so I'm still continuing it to see what happens. I won't mention any more because if you're gonna watch it, I would say watch it just so you know what I'm talking about.
Just explain the basics, because I know the first episode.
Okay, so
There was a war with Mars.
there's a war with Mars. There's the princess. The princess was killed. Now, mind you, the princess is killed 3 times. So killed, killed, and now she's killed again.
Yeah.
So, the main story of it is that there's this war with Mars, and they really wanted to continue this war with Earth. So they staged a killing of the princess, and it was through some rebels that were trying to take over, blah blah blah. But in reality, they were being paid off to stage it, and so this war goes off. I don't remember the name. Inaho. Inaho is the main kid. Inaho ends up being like this super badass brainiac. Think of what's his name? Shinji from I'm trying to remember now.
Evangelion.
Yes. Okay. So think of him, but a little more douchey, I would say. And brilliant. I mean, super duper smart kid, right? Like, but also think of have you watched Code Geass?
No.
Oh, okay. So that reference doesn't work for you. Okay, we got it. I've actually added that.
A slightly douchier version of Shinji. I get it.
But yeah, similar. So in that respect, because he has like very like shallow emotions. So he doesn't really show anything, but he's extremely intelligent, you know. Like there's no rationality for his intelligence, like, and it's like he's very robotic as well. So he's this cold, strong leader at the age of like 17 or 16. So he can operate this badass mecha, you know. And they've been studying it because of the war. Their teacher is the best, I mean the absolute best of the entire show. I really am sticking around for this series just to watch Marco, because Marco is the best character of the entire show. And the reason why is because we get a little bit of a semblance of what his character is, the kind of shit he's been through. Like he actually he was in the war, he saw his best friend get killed. He's, you know, the drunken, like, veteran grizzly guy that is just like, I don't want to go back to war. Like, this is not a fun thing, et cetera, et cetera. But Inaho is the main superstar of the show. And then you've got this other kid, Slane, yeah. So, and he is from Mars, but he's actually from Earth. He's a Earthling, but he's from Mars. And he's the one who was instructing the princess, blah, 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 blah. And
okay, so they're the ones coming. He's the one coming to Earth with the princess in the first episode.
Right.
Okay.
And so he ends up becoming like the main nemesis between Inaho and Slane. So they're just like the main characters of the show, right? The issue that I have is that the animosity that's developed between them is so loosely fleshed out. Like there's no reason for them to fight. There's a part where, and you'll see this if you continue watching the show, where he's like calling him Batman because he's flying in a ship, and Inaho is in his orange cataphract where it's a mecha, you know, and so Slane is like orange, and he sees him, he's like, oh, Batman, and then next thing you know, they're fighting each other. Like, there's no explanation. In the previous episode, Batman, or Slane, was helping them, and now all of a sudden they're fighting each other. It's like, there's no rationality for that.
It's the convenient conflict when they need a conflict.
Super convenient.
It's a trope in anime.
Right. But, and you know what, I can take tropes, but what I can't take is when you're extending it and there's no validity. Like, it doesn't work.
That's true. A lot of times you get characters who don't get along for no particular reason just because they need that conflict, but usually it's consistent.
Yeah.
Usually they hate each other for the entire run of the series until they have that moment where they reconcile. Right.
Like Future Diary. Okay, Future Diary is a good example of two characters. Well, she's a tsundere, but anyway, no, she's yandere actually. She's crazy. So, but anyway, she's going off and she's, in love with this guy and he can't stand her. He thinks she's insane, but he's like, okay, I should play along with this. But there's rationality there. Like, there's complete rationality. She's psycho. She's killing a bunch of people. And he doesn't know what to do about that, so he's like, well, she's kind of my girlfriend. She's not. She's kind of my girlfriend, but she's crazy.
The one that came to mind when you were explaining it was, did you see the Pilot's Love Song? It was on a couple of seasons ago.
I haven't seen it.
Great series. There are one character, I almost gave a spoiler away. This one character he adopted, he's a pilot in training. You find out was adopted. And immediately when he gets to this, academy, the princess's guard, and he falls in love with the princess, and the princess's guard hates him, and that's an ongoing conflict. But you find out eventually why there's an ongoing conflict, and they resolve it. So it makes sense in the end. But this sounds like it's just a conflict because the writers needed a conflict on it.
Yeah, and that's my whole issue with it, is that there was no rationality towards why they're fighting. Like, one episode ago, the guy was helping you, and now you're going to turn around and be like, well, no, you can't be helping us. Like, I'm going to fight you. It doesn't make any sense. And then the princess, I can't stand her character. I can't.
She's a princess.
No, but not only that, but like, I'm starting to really like Yona of the Dawn. Because Yona of the Dawn, like, she's like, you know what, I'm a little bitchy princess, but, at this point, I got to deal with the crap that I've been dealing with, and so I got to move on, And so she decides to act like, a badass instead of being a little bitchy princess. And it's nice. It's nice to see something different. Now, my issue with whatever her princess name is, I can't remember now, but my issue with her is that she's just this princess, and she's just like, oh, I want everybody to get along, I want everybody happy, and and she has like no backbone, like, and on top of that, like, she's killed 3 times. So I'm like,
This is starting to sound comedically bad. I may need to catch up.
You have to watch it. You have to watch it just because it's so fucking funny.
Because I've never seen a comedically bad anime. I love comedically bad movies. I love bad movies. I've never experienced that with an anime yet.
Yeah, that is kind of how I feel about the show. The show just makes me want to pull my hair out. And like, I was watching it, and I was like, focus on Marco. Focus on Marcos. Like, he's great. Just focus on him. Let's talk about that guy. And it's so freaking fucked up because Inaho has this like group of friends that actually care about him, but he doesn't really give a shit about them. He's just like, whatever. Oh yeah, this guy died. That guy died. Oh, too bad.
Is he the typical brooding leading man?
Yes.
Oh
yes.
God.
Yes, he is. And you know what? There's a fucking romance in there, and it makes no sense whatsoever. There's this romance between him and the princess, and I just want to pull my hair out.
Okay, I've seen this a billion times before. Anybody who's watched anime has seen this a billion times before. Yeah.
Like, there's no emotional, like, he's completely shallow. Like, even with his sister, there's, like, no emotion.
And that show had so much potential at the beginning.
Huh?
That show had so much potential from that first episode.
It had a ton of potential. A ton. Like, I watched it and I was so excited. It seemed really good. I was really getting into it. And then they started pulling out this crap. And then they kept pulling out this crap. And I was just sitting there going like, oh my God, okay, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It's going to get better.
Next thing you know, there's going to be a harem.
No, and not only that, it's like, it's this whole like, okay, now Slane is the bad guy, but is he really the bad guy because he's trying to help the princess and and all this drama, and characters that were supposedly dead are not dead anymore. Like, I feel like I'm watching a soap opera. A soap opera in space.
I need to watch this.
Outlaw Zero is a soap opera in space. That's what it is. I figured it out.
I do think I need to catch up on this.
Yes, you must. You must. You absolutely must. So, okay. Now I'm watching, or I finished watching it actually because it's 3 minutes. It's on Crunchyroll.
Okay.
It's fantastic. It is called, I can't understand what my husband says.
Okay, it's one of the 3. That's way short. I've never seen a series of 3-minute episodes. Oh, that's
the tempo's really fast. It's like just super fast tempo. Amazing show.
Are we talking like Tekio fast? The Tekio? Have you seen that? The one with the girls' tennis team?
No, I haven't seen that one.
It's another one like 5-minute episodes, but they talk a mile a minute, and
similar.
You kind of have to
similar. But the story.
It's kind of a challenge to read the story. It's a challenge to catch up with the
subtitles, right? Right. So I'm watching that. I'm dying laughing because it is about a guy who is a hikikomori / otaku, but he's not really a hikikomori because he kind of has friends and he kind of like likes people. But he kind of doesn't have friends. Mm-hmm. His friends are all online, and he's a neat. So, but he's 100% otaku, like 100% otaku. Okay. So he's married to this girl, right? And it starts off.
He can't be 100% otaku if he's got married.
I know, but he is. He is 100% otaku. Like, he's got his anime blog, and he's a gamer, and he's all about visual novels, you know, like, so he's definitely otaku, but and he doesn't really like people, but he kind of likes people. In between. So anyway, so he gets married, and first episode his wife is like, I think that this is as happy as I'm going to be, and he's like, yeah, I think this is as happy as I'm going to be, and then it shows them get married, and then he goes they go on their honeymoon, and he's like, he goes, oh, maybe we should go for a swim, and then she says, yeah, okay, I have a bathing suit in the hotel room, and then she comes back and she's wearing the bathing suit, and he's like, and then it says sex. And he's like, it says lots of sex, and then it fast forwards to them just like being in their relationship, and his wife is just like saying like she doesn't understand. She's like, maybe you should like get a job, and he goes, I don't want to get a job. I don't want to be one of those people that works 9 to 5 and dies. He's like, I'd rather just sit here and watch anime, and you know, and then he talks about how his frustration with slice of life anime. And how it ends, and how he's like, but I want to know what happens. I need to know. It's like slice of life anime. It makes me feel like I'm depressed because I need to know what happens after. And I was like, yes, I understand. So it's kind of like a satire, kind of like. It's also great because there's a lot of little references here and there to other anime that if you catch and you pick up on, or like current events and memes and that sort of thing. So it's really, really cool. And then that's and I just watched the last episode of Parasite. So
last as in last, or last as in most recent?
Most recent.
Okay.
No, the show's not over yet. But it's definitely getting very interesting. That's all I'm gonna say, because you have to catch up.
I have to catch up. Yeah. Well, just the one episode. It's what, 16 is the latest?
Episode 16 right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I haven't seen.
Yeah. So, have you seen anything for next season that you might be interested in watching.
Are they out yet? Is the
I
list?
well, there's some news that's coming out on Crunchyroll. Like for
Okay.
instance, they're talking about who's getting another season. I know I can't understand what my husband says is getting another season. Um, I know also. Great, now my brain just stopped working again. But they're just starting to talk a little bit about the next season.
Okay, I'll have to
Um,
take a
I don't
look.
know offhand any of the new ones.
Because that's what we're looking at. Probably is a new one. Otherwise,
I
it's
would
got
say yeah. Then
a
that
backstory.
right.
We want to jump into something new. Yeah.
Yeah. And I started watching Fate Stay Night. I've heard mixed reviews about it, so I'm holding my breath. And actually, I had my friend over for the weekend, and he was watching Fate Zero, and he was really into it. I was like, "That's awesome!" So I kind of think like maybe the first episode of Fate Zero is really dry, but after that, it picks up. I think though after this, we should probably go maybe something more comedic and slice of
Yeah.
life rather
Go a
than
little lighter after because we've had two very heavy ones kind of in a row.
well,
Not heavy compared to some, but two fairly dramatic series in a row.
yeah, Bebop is definitely going to get dramatic,
Yeah.
especially when we start looking at the movies.
I think
So
maybe next might be Watamote might be good for next. It's light, it's episodic, it's nothing too intense, and
I was thinking,
it's
okay,
very
go ahead.
polarizing.
Huh?
And it can be very polarizing, so it'll be interesting to see the reactions.
I would love to. Actually we'll start putting the poll together. I think I would like to also put a vote out for Welcome to the NHK.
Okay, that'd be good. I want to see that one, so
Oh, you haven't seen it?
that's another one on my list.
Oh, awesome. You'll love it. It's definitely slice of life meets there's action, there's a little romance, there's very psychological parts as well because it delves
Yeah,
into
it's about a hikikomori, so yeah.
right. And I mean, I think that would be really interesting to kind of discuss as well in conjunction with like how that affects relationships and society and that sort of thing. I mean, that's actually a real problem, not just in Japan, but apparently that's a problem. I was reading somewhere about how in New York they were having problems with people that are hikikomoris, that basically they just give up, and they're just as long as they're subsisting, they just
Yeah.
give up.
Yeah, as long as they can afford to live, they're happy
Right.
not doing anything.
Yeah.
But I'll have to go through my anime list to see some of the other later stuff. I'm almost half tempted to make a joke about Popotan, but I can't even be that cruel. Have you seen Popotan?
Which one?
Popotan, an anime that very bad anime. You don't want to.
No, when I watch like something bad, I decide to not watch it anymore. For the most part, unless it's Alno Zero, because clearly I'm still watching Alno
There's
Zero.
nothing on my anime list that goes below a 7, except for Popotan, which is like a 4.5. It's something you only watch for the fan service.
What about I'm trying to think what other ones would be good. I think we should try to just maybe do some research. Like I think maybe something that's slice of life, but not so slice of life that people just fall asleep. Like I can't put K-On there. K-On will just. I think if we put K-On on there, the entire community that I've created will just go away. I mean, it's hard enough for them to try to like watch Hangouts, let alone.
Slice of life is one of those things we have to be real careful with. We have to pick a really good one because I like it. I like slice of life. I mean, Watamote is pretty much slice of life, but with a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
But it can be very boring if it's not really well done.
I think also a lot of things with slice of life, like what makes one better than the other is parodies. So Welcome to NHK, you'll get that a little bit. But I think that's also parodies of life, which are really funny and will be really enjoyable. So, yeah, I think that would be good. All right. So it's 6 o'clock. We've been talking for a while now. Wow. Clearly, we can talk a lot about anime. So On that note,
Will
we'll
we
try
shoot
and
for
do this
Tuesday next
next
week?
week.
We'll
Let's
shoot
try to go.
for Tuesday again.
Huh?
Shoot for
Yeah,
Tuesday
we
again.
can try Tuesday.
All right.
How's the weather for you right now?
We just got hit with a lot of snow, but it's mostly been shoveled and put where well in more convenient places. So we might be getting
Yeah,
more. Yeah.
yeah. Um, I
That's
hope
why I
you
was
get
laughing when
more.
you complained about it being 65 degrees.
Well, it's kind of cold. 65 is cold for some people. Us Florida people, we
Mhm.
wear long sleeves and, we get a little cold, so.
Mhm.
But yeah, stay warm, stay
Mhm.
safe. Don't go out in that. That
Oh
sounds
no.
crazy. I just
Don't
saw
make
I
that
saw
happen.
the picture that Charlie posted from Geek Question of the Day, and I was like, that's scary. I don't want to go out in that.
Well, it's great if you don't have to go out. It looks beautiful when it's falling. It's just when it's done falling, you have to actually resume your life that it becomes an issue.
Yeah. I think the other thing is like for instance if you forget something like, for us it's like, "Oh, I forgot my phone in the car," or whatever, no big deal, but for you
Mm.
it's
Well, yeah, only a couple times a year.
yeah, well, stay safe, stay
Mhm.
stay warm, and I'll see you Tuesday.
All right. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.